because unfortunately our greatest predator is men. Our greatest harm does come from men, and therefore
That's do you think, I don't know, do you think women's greatest harm in general, let's not only think about SA and assault, do you think women's greatest harm in general come from men or women? Right? Because yeah, there's a lot of men that SA women, there's a lot of women that SA women, there's a lot of women that help men SA women, there's a lot of women that help other women SA women, there's a lot of women that bring people, like, women, man, listen, I don't know if y'all listen to Jeanette McCurdy's story, you know what I'm saying, shout out to Sam and shit like that, I hope she's doing good, you know what I'm saying, they really did iCarly reboot without her. You know what I'm saying? That shit is kind of crazy, but, you know, there was no convincing her to come back. Anyway, you know, men hurt women. No question about that. That's not even a debate. But women hurt women in a way that men couldn't even imagine to hurt women. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I think there's this idea that women's greatest foe is men, when I think there's a good argument that it's other women. I think we could have that. We could have that debate. We could have that conversation. Why was that such a hard question? You consider yourself a feminist? Queer feminist. Okay.
There's variations, right?
What is a queer feminist as opposed to a feminist, just so I understand?
Well, like, so I heavily believe in queer theory. So, you know.
Queer theory. Niggas is, I ain't gonna lie, we getting it started already, bruh. Queer theory, bruh. I'm gonna have to sit in my chair like this. I ain't gonna lie, bruh. I'm gonna have to sit in my shit like this.
Gender binary that we understand, it comes from colonization. So someone who is mixed race, family from Mexico, you know, we have the Muxés in Mexico, which is an indigenous tribe. They believed in gender fluidity. And then you have European colonizers coming who dismantle that. And now everything that we understand when it comes to gender is a Western lens. So from a queer...
So you don't even think women exist, I'm guessing.
I think everyone should be empowered to figure out their identity and explore the language that best describes themselves. So freedom, America, right? America, freedom. And I want to believe in that when it comes to identity. Right. Everyone should have the freedom to decide how they want to identify, as long as they're not causing harm. But that's where we get into the debate, what is harm?
So just, again, to be clear, to go back to this
So
claim.
we got straight to the point, bro. I've been watching a lot of chess videos, bro. I've been watching a lot of chess videos. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this is the equivalent of, like, you cutting all the fluff and you just getting straight down to the attack, bro. You getting straight down to the point. You sacrificing the rook, you opening a position. Let's get straight to the point, bro. I fuck with it.
We are debating female happiness. You are saying you do not identify as a female.
I identify with all gender expressions, so from masculinity to femininity. So
I'm just saying, are you just
lock in, Candace, lock in. Don't, come on, lock in.
Saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are happier after the sexual revolution. I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like you're debating queer theory as opposed to female.
I believe all genders benefit from the sexual revolution.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Hello.
I'm Zena.
Zena, very much like your name.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Can we start with the beginning? Do you identify as a female?
I identify as a woman, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I do want to, like, get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This like kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth. Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to just, and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which that it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So are you saying, but you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. According
Let's get somebody else
in which people are getting married, how difficult.
Let's get somebody else in the chair.
Nice to meet you.
Let's see what Nikki talking about.
So when we're talking about the value of women on a societal scale and how we view each other, right? when you're devaluing us, your objective.
I like the queer the most. The queer got straight to the point. The queer got straight to sacrificing the rook, opening up the position, getting straight to the attack. Connecting, you know what I'm saying? Connecting her knights, you know what I'm saying? Putting her bishops on good squares, centralizing her knight, and all of that good shit. Good pawn structure. She got straight to the point. These other motherfuckers, I don't really like how they play chess. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Us. And follow me, I promise. But rape rates have gone down by about half in the last.
Wow. Okay. She's chucking pieces. She's chucking pieces. We went straight to the SA rates. We went straight to that. I don't even know how we got to that. There was no transition of like how this connects and this. We went straight to it. Okay.
20 years, right? So if you're saying we're less valuable now, why wouldn't we be suffering at a higher rate?
So is the argument that you're making, just so I understand, that
because you're getting less, you're getting sexually assaulted less. If anything, I mean, like, okay, this is a nasty argument. This is a nasty argument, because then you could value, okay, let's say the women are getting SA'd at a lower rate is because their value is less. That's like saying there have been less $10 bills that have been stolen. Why? Because the value of $10 bills have been have gone down. So there have been less incentive to steal them. So it's just like, to the extent that somebody suffers and to the extent that someone is valuable, I don't know. I don't really see how that connects.
because women are giving up sex for free, they're not being raped?
Every study shows rape is not correlated with just sexual gratification. It is a power structure.
Okay.
So it is about objectifying and abusing women when you rape them, not about whether or not you want sex. What I am saying is that women are less objectified, so therefore we are being raped less.
Okay, so you think that in today's society, because this is pretty wild for me.
Let's open up the position, bruh. Let's open up the position. Let's get straight to the attack.
In the 1950s, you're saying women were more objectified than today in the land of OnlyFans, the Kardashian clan, and women that are...
The Kardashian clan. The KK? I would lean back in my chair, but that's crazy.
are essentially putting up their boobs and butts for free on Instagram. You're saying
What's his problem?
we finally have achieved less objectification, where women can't even get onto an advertising. You can't even advertise a bag without them having to be naked in order for them to get a career as a model. You're saying, oh great, we've achieved actually less objectification.
So I'm not trying to suggest that I think that the over-commodification of women's bodies is positive. But what I am saying is that when you're going to the 1950s, that we shouldn't put this glazed look of, oh, it was so happy, we had single income households and we got to stay home. We also had a pill popping problem. We also were viewed as maids. Like, we were seen as a house appliance far more than we were as people. And so when you have that kind of objectification where you are in a subservient position, I think we're facing a different form today. But I think that rape is a signifier of a contradiction to your statement.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense, but I do want to rebut it on a couple of points. So first, I just want to say, suggesting that objectification has gone downward since the 1950s is wild. That's just a firm no. That is not the truth, and you know that's not true.
Wait, so do you feel like
hold on, let me answer your
like,
second thing.
okay.
Second thing, you then brought up, okay, women were at home, but they were pill popping. Well, you then have to acknowledge we're actually popping more pills now, right? So we have actually increased our amount of pill popping. Women are having overdoses on opioids, and on top of
A 2018 study found that women were more likely to report prescription opioid use compared to men. 55% compared to 40. 55. First of all, these numbers are crazy. 55% of men, or 55% of women and 42% of men. 42%. So out of if I take 100 random men, 42 on average, 42 of them are gonna have a prescribed opioid opioid use. Wow. And that's not even like on that's on the record. That's all on the record.
That since I think 1999, by rate, we are increasing our opioid use compared to men. So women are not popping pills less because we're going into the workforce. That's actually not true at all either. We're also, like I said to you, consuming alcohol more and binge drinking more than we did in the 1950s, which is why I was trying to get her to say, we need to look at actually give me any reasonable metric of how we can define happiness, because it's hard, right? Are you happy, yes or no?
Sure, but wait, hold on. We're actually avoiding what my original point was about rape being the signifier.
Okay, pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
All right, Nikki, not bad.
Thank you.
Who's
Nice.
next?
And I think a lot of people go because there's a pressure that if you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure.
It's a choice. Everything's a choice. So
Okay.
taking away choices doesn't make people happier.
Yeah,
Taking
but
away
I'm
freedoms
actually-
doesn't.
Okay, let's get her up out the way. Let's give it like, nah, I'm not interested in this at all. Let's see.
Percentages that are occupied in the government, which is majority male, defines us as a patriarchy. Now, when it comes to
Oh, I seen her before.
capitalism, for marketing purposes and control, for capital and revenue, that is a totally different conversation. But who's making
I'm not gonna lie, she slowed the whole pace down with her voice and shit like that. The whole pace is slowed down.
the laws? I don't think that women are the ones voting to have their reproductive rights taken away, where you have rape, incest, and all of these things excluded to force women to be able to have. I don't think women in government would largely vote against their own interests because it's majority male, patriarchy.
Okay, I think love that point. Are women allowed to vote?
Oh, of course they are.
Who's voting that patriarchy and then out of curiosity?
No, I totally agree. And you want to know why? Because there are so many women who think like you. You submit to the idea of men ruling everything. And your ideology is spread across a lot of women who also falsely believe to vote against their own interests just to complain about it in the end. You know, earlier you said that, women would be much more happier working at home, but don't you agree that it's human nature to want things that you don't have? Mm-hmm. So during the 1950s, which is
Hold on. I don't really know if I agree with her or not yet, or agree with her point, but the way she's talking, I fuck with it.
something that you constantly bring up. It wasn't until 1994 that it was illegal to beat your wife. And so what we're dealing with is people wanting something, and then when they get it, they're not happy with it, and then they have to revoke that idea for something else. And so what you're saying is that women vote for these things because they have the same mentality as you.
Okay, so you're acknowledging that women have the freedom to vote.
Yes.
And you're saying that women...
Okay, Candace is trying to bring it back to her, right? She's not playing her game. This is really like, when you really watch these, it's really skillful debate. You have to know how to debate. Right? It's not necessarily who has the best points. It's about who can play at their own pace, who can play within, because a lot of times people argue, and the person that'll be right, their argument will be left out, or we'll switch the topic, or we'll revert back to something that we're not really talking about. That's something that Skip Bayless does really well, is he'll be wrong a lot of the times, but he'll make a point, and he'll take the point elsewhere, and now we're talking about fucking clutch free throws with Michael Jordan, other than just who's the better basketball player. And so I feel like they're both doing a really good job as debaters, like trying to make sure that their point is being made and they're playing on their own terms.
Are still existing mentally, even with the freedom to vote.
Correct.
They are voting men in because we are still victims of...
No, I don't believe in victimhood. I believe in lack of education and lack of knowledge, because one of the things that you also say...
Do you think that it could just be that more men are running for positions of office?
No, not necessarily. Because
In part, at least, has to be.
remember, the United States, the average reading comprehension of people in the United States is 6th grade. So we're not dealing with educated people. Lack of education is the cause for what we see in the world. And if we educate the women better, because a nation can rise no higher than its woman, and if
Well, I mean, the average education of the woman is higher than the average education of the man. Is that correct? I don't know. Somebody fact check me on that. There should be something right here that says if that's true or not. There's not going to be anything there.
She reading and comprehending at a 6th grade level and popping out a lot of kids, because the brokest people in the world pop out the most kids. So if we have those people voting, of course they're going to vote against their interests because they're voting for some utopian society that will never exist.
Okay, so that's why you think Kamala lost.
This ain't even about Kamala.
Because you're talking.
Candace tried to, you know what I mean? And she said, hold on, snatch. We're not doing that. We're not speeding up the pace. She tried to rush her. She tried to play that quick ass deep. You know how niggas be reach out. She said, hold on, I'm putting my back to you. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. I'm putting my back to you. I'm comfortable. Yo, set the floppy. She not rushing nothing we doing over here. She gonna waste her energy. I'm chilling. She reaching, I'm turning her. Back to her. We calm. What are you talking about, Kamala? Who said anything about Kamala? You tried it.
Women. No, but we had an opportunity.
Yeah, go ahead.
We had a male running and we had a female running, and we actually showed that Trump increased the amount of women who voted for him, right? So I'm asking you, do you believe that the reason that happened was because women became less educated during that time?
They've always been less educated. Did you know that UNESCO says that that 2/3 of the 7.7 million illiterate adults is women? Illiterate. And we have 6th grade educated people voting. And guess who? Guess the dominant population? It's white women. And so guess what? Now you have to add a race element into that, which you already know exists.
I didn't even think about that. She's really getting to her spots. She's getting to her spots, man. Candace is really trying to play deep, because really think about it, right? Whoever talks more in the conversation, whoever talks more in the debate is typically winning the debate, right? It doesn't matter who's actually right, because winning a debate, like winning a case, like when you're a lawyer, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about who's presenting the best case. And so if you can control, right? It's like any sport, right? The team that has the ball the most typically wins, right? When you look at time of possession, NFL, whatever, you have 40 minutes to 20 minutes. Okay, the team that has the ball more typically winning. And so she has had the ball a lot more, and she's trying to force turnovers and shit like that. And she can't speed her up. She can't. She's just fundamentally sound. She has the ball in the string. She has the weight advantage. She's an experienced player. She's been there before. And so now we're going to see Candace really try to play defense and try to get the time of possession back in her advantage, because it's not looking good right now.
Because we, as black folks, we ain't the dominant people voting people in, okay? So now when we have to go into white supremacy and feminism, now you have to look at the mind of the people who actually have economic success and what they're voting for, because classism actually matters as well. So
That's also true.
I'm sorry, but a lot of people vote based on their feelings and not based on policy.
Pause, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please.
Why? It's because bitches want to talk. Bitches run everything. Let's see what he on.
Is that
I'm gonna be completely honest. Do I have some opinions about things that are being said in the matriarchy and the women's and all that stuff? I'm not really a political person like that. What I am I am very interested in. I'm interested to hear the points that they make, yes, but I'm also more interested in like hearing how they debate. Every time I watch these, I'm more interested in how they debate. When Skip came on here, was talking about basketball. Yeah, that's a topic that I'm a lot more well versed in basketball, or sports in general over politics, absolutely. But I'm just more interested in listening to how niggas debate, how niggas control the room. I just think that's far more interesting than whatever the fuck they talking about, honestly. Like, not to say that what they're talking about isn't interesting or isn't important. It's just my preference.
women have actually begun to enter these companies, have risen into both political and economic positions of power, but that continues to grow year by year.
They got him up out the way quick. I ain't gonna lie. They got him about. How long he was in the chair for? 49 minutes, and then he got up out the way. Oh, he was in there for a cool 5. Shorty was in there for like 7 though, but she was talking the whole time, bro. They need to get her back in the seat. Let's see what she on.
Why are women making less than men? Like what? I mean, none of that means anything to me.
So that gap, obviously, I'm sure you've
We about to get her up out the way soon. She got like 45 seconds.
recognized the gender gap has been debunked so many times. It's almost foolish to debunk it again.
Well,
Okay, yeah, Candace got her about the way. Feminism has made things easier for men. How long is this segment? 127 to 1. Okay, so it's like 20-minute segment. Okay, let's see.
Are being offered sex from women for free, so they have to actually effectively do less and be motivated less, because feminism has kind of insisted on this culture of sex and hooking up, and I think that has been a net negative for women.
On good faith, I just want to say, I think you're approaching this with like the best interest for women. Like you think that is negative for women and harmful. And I think in some aspects we can agree to that. Yeah. I do think that there are some aspects of sex work or OnlyFans or whatnot that maybe men are definitely the huge consumers of. But if we are so concerned with women putting that out for free, it's charged, right? They're making money off of it. Then why are
What's the rate of men that are having sex now versus before? Because I recently saw something, I don't know whether or not it's true. I'm just a nigga in front of a camera and a mic, you know what I'm saying, who just had enough to get some podcast equipment. That said that I think it was 2/3 of men over 18 haven't had sex in over a year. Now that was a few years ago. So, you know, there was a significant drought that was taking place for men, right? And so I guess you can say with the age of social media, you know, I think that the guys who were having sex are probably having more sex. That's probably what I can say, right? And so I think she's speaking of a lens of guys who have what paint me the picture of the guy you're speaking about. The regular guy is probably dealing with more like difficulty trying to date women, you know. I mean, I guess our girls probably having sex more often, probably, but I feel like it's the guys who are already having sex. Like the guys who weren't having any sex, I don't think are getting any sex. The guys who weren't having sex are getting used. You know what I'm saying? The percentage of guys who have porn addictions, you know, who are subscribed to like these OF models make millions of dollars. Somebody's funding it, and it's not mainly women, right? And so mostly guys who aren't getting any sex are the ones typically like paying for it. Like the porn industry is bigger than it ever been. So I don't know, to say that women are giving it up easier, or okay, the claim is feminism has made things easier for men. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that this is. I think this is a point that she would probably. I don't think she's right. Whether or not she's gonna lose the argument, that's one of the.
Are we not putting the onus more on men for being the one that is in control of that demand, right? So we can take away the supply or, you know, condemn it all we want. But if there's no onus on men to be the consumers of said products, then wouldn't you think that would solve the issue that you're bringing up?
I completely agree.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that, and I really get to that.
What I would say is like, okay, I mean, yeah, so by the same breath, right, by the same logic, you know, you have people who sell drugs and distribute, you know, and so instead of saying, hey, you know, don't sell drugs, you know, we should just condemn all the people that do drugs and get them to not do it. I mean, I guess that's also a fair point to an extent, but to not hold the people who do it to any accountability, I don't know.
I want to be very clear. When I say that I'm anti-feminist, this does not mean that I do not also criticize men. I think that's something that people get very wrong.
Okay.
1000% agree. I believe the problem was seeded by the feminist movement. I think the sex revolution and telling women, I mean, literally when these people were protesting, they didn't have their shirts on, and this used to be just, your grandparents couldn't even imagine this, like women walking down the street and having their boobs out and their butts out.
R.I.P. my grandma Miriam, Brand. I don't know what she would have to say about this stuff that's going on
Instagram, and it created an environment where men then had to work harder for a woman's affection, for a woman to take her clothes off, sex education in the classroom. There's this huge myth that people were just doing it, like, you know, oh, we might as well teach them because the children are just doing it. Actually, before they introduced sex education, the majority of high school graduates were graduating with their virginity intact, and then within 10 years of sex education, we saw a reversal. So I'm saying feminism actually seeded the problem, and now the problem is bad, and it's also bad for men. It's harmful for men to be constantly exposed to pornography and soft pornography, and I think it actually, in many ways, emasculates men.
Okay.
But I would say they are the main social benefactors of that culture because, well, first and foremost, as we're talking about women who have to kind of pick one or the other or try to manage both, and can we have it all? Like, oh, you can't have it all. On a day where I really feel like I gave...
Well, if men are the ones who are, I mean, I guess the real truth is that both genders would be suffering based on what you're saying. Like, if it's so bad for men to have these addictions, and you know, OnlyFans and all these things are like objectively bad for men. So, I mean, you can argue that if any, like, both are negatively affected by it based on, you know, the specifics of what you're talking about. But who's benefiting more? Probably women. Probably women.
A little bit more to my career, I ache because I go, okay, but like now I feel like I didn't give the same amount to my children, and it's a constant push and pull, and it never feels enough. It really doesn't feel enough.
So, like, to a degree, I think that feminism does benefit men. I think that it allows men to be more emotionally intelligent, allows them to understand what that looks like, and also be able to connect with other people, right? But at the same time, there's so much work that feminism has done for women that to say that it benefits men more, I don't think is an accurate statement. For example, Title IX has made it very possible for women to go to college, 600% more so, right? And I think that that is a huge benefit that we can credit to the feminist movement. Though I understand your point, though, of trying to say that, like, sex work is harmful for women and more.
Is it not harmful for men? Come on, bro. Let's not do that. Let's not act like men sleeping around is a benefit to men. Come on, like, that's disingenuous.
More beneficial for men because they're benefiting from it the most, but at the same time, if you think they're also suffering from it, does that not
Exactly. Talk that talk. That's what I'm trying. Come on, talk that talk.
contradict your point?
Yeah, so I disagree on the fact that, and we do agree that more women are going to college, more women than men are graduating with college degrees, and despite that, people are saying that we still live under a patriarchy. Women are free to start their own companies, women are free to pay women whatever they want to pay. Women could hire, and in some cases do hire, all women. And so I don't really understand, which wasn't your argument to be fair, the idea that even with all of that...
Why the fuck are we talking about it, Candace? Can we stick to the point, Candace? I got nothing but love for Candace, especially after the situation with the BLM. And like, oh, you know, Candace is exiled from the African American community. Whoever was running the BLM, she smuggled all y'all bread. Talking about in the stash. This is why I agree with some of the shit that Ye be saying. Obviously, all the hate speech. Obviously, I don't agree with that. But the fuck the culture, I do feel him on fuck the culture, bro. Cause fuck the culture got niggas obese. Fuck the culture got niggas obese. The culture got niggas moving like sheep. The culture got niggas not thinking for themselves. The culture getting niggas shot and killed. The culture, nigga, fuck the culture. What has the culture done for us? Other than give us the N-word. You can say nigga now. Come on, bruh.
Freedom.
Anyway, I don't know where that came from anyway.
Women are still not able to achieve what men are able to achieve. I think college education actually has increased women's stress. And I'm talking about in terms of how expensive it is. And I know you're gonna then say, well, the solution to that is we have to then move the goalpost. And I'm
Can we stay on point, Candace? You're yapping right now.
guessing
Well,
here.
no,
You could-
I mean,
but like college should be
Can you get to her point, please?
free. Everything should be free. He thinks.
Well, I think
we just
Candace, you're starting to piss me off. Stay on topic.
need more free stuff, and obviously nothing's free. We're just gonna
Yeah.
They about to get up out the way.
I mean, is it really bad that we don't have to give men the chase? Don't they have
Let's hear her out for a second.
gratification from chasing us? Like, it's a hunter versus prey situation to me.
I want to hear what Candace is going to have to say to that.
So I feel like a lot of relationships, especially back then, were based on trying to get to home run, like, very fast. And now that we have the freedom to not commit and not tie ourselves to one man for the rest of our life, I just don't necessarily think that's bad. I just don't think the revolution has decreased our value. We're not chewed gum. We're people who value connection. And sex doesn't always have to have this deep meaning.
Oh,
It is
gosh.
just connection and
Here we
intimacy
go.
between two people who trust each other.
Here we go.
And why do we have to deny women that gratification? Like men, you say that are wired to want that. Why not women? Why?
Oh, they gonna get her about the way? Yeah, hold on. Where we at? 1:15. They got her up out the way in a few minutes. Let's see what she on.
Mainly a recording artist.
Whoa. Face tattoo is automatically crazy. No matter what it is, face tat is already letting me know a lot of things. It's already letting me know a lot of things. This piercing that you got right here with the face tat and this neck tat and these eyes. Look at these eyes, bro. You know these eyes, man. There's stuff in there, man. You look at some people's eyes and you're like, they just be chilling. They ain't really on shit. You look at these eyes, man.
But I do that to fund the music.
Okay.
But, you know, you're saying basically that we
Wait, what did
kind
she
of
do?
like devalue ourselves.
Yes.
But like,
Wait, what did she say?
Make him a sandwich?
Yeah.
A lot.
I definitely do not feel like I'm devaluing myself.
Make him a sandwich?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, literally make him a sandwich. There's nothing.
Which is the title of my book.
Yes, feed your men and everything. Feed the people that you love.
As it
Because
brings you
family
joy.
isn't defined just by your partner or your kids. Family is community, and you should care about your community and
She never said to not.
understanding that. I just don't think you really care about the community that much when you're pushing this rhetoric of devaluing women so much to stay in the kitchen, stay within the homes, and also saying that they're wasting money on college when education is very important. There's a lot of female scientists.
Pause.
There's
You've
so
been
much
voted out.
Uh,
Sorry. You've been voted out. Pause.
there's
You've been
so much
voted
that I
out.
want to say.
What did she do? I think
Hello.
she probably do OF or something like that.
Hi, how are you?
This is a nice outfit though. Respect to the outfit though. No disrespect. This is nice.
Hello.
Yeah, this is clean. I like it. I like it.
Hi, how are you?
What's your name?
I'm Zola Stone.
Very nice to meet you, Zola. You have very pretty eyes.
Thank you. So you keep talking about OnlyFans and
Oh, she feel attacked. Talk that
Kim
talk.
Kardashian and
The Kardashian clan. That's a good one, man.
well, I do OnlyFans.
Okay.
Okay, the eyes let me know. The eyes let me know everything, bro. The eyes and the face tat let me know everything I need to know. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you don't have to do a lot of talking. You know, you scan somebody's badges, you scan their animations, you scan their player build. You already know what's going on. You have enough information to make a call right then and there. You feel what I'm saying?
And I'm a stripper as well.
So you're in the sex industry.
Well, I'm mainly a recording artist, but I do that to fund the music.
Okay.
But, you know, you're
Let's hear some music though. Do she got some music? Let's see. What's her name? What was her name?
in.
What's your name?
I'm Zola Stone.
Very nice.
Zola. Zola. They don't got Zola here nowhere? Why they gatekeeping Zola? I wanted to hear the music. Oh, here she go. Okay, let's hear the music. 42K subs. Okay. We not really here for that. Where's the music though? Yes, I have faith and I do music. Where's the music? This the music right here? This is like a nice aesthetic music. You know, it's kind of like you walking into H&M. H&M vibe. It's not my vibe, but you got to understand the difference between knowing, like when somebody's putting out music that's not your flavor. Like if Taylor Swift was up and coming and I heard one of her songs, I'd be like, I don't like this shit. But you gotta be able to separate between, oh, I like it, and oh, it got potential. So I don't really like that music, but it got potential. I don't like Taylor Swift, but if I heard her up and coming, I'm like, oh, okay, this got potential. Anyway.
To meet you, Zill. You have very pretty eyes.
Thank you. You're saying basically that we kind of like devalue ourselves, but at the same time, I'm celibate. I still consider myself a woman of God.
Wow. Okay, now she's an interesting being. She's interesting. Now she just became very interesting. She just became very interesting. Right? Because you don't see that combination a lot. You know what I mean? You don't see OF workers who claim to be women of God. You know what I'm saying? So now it's just like, wow.
And so, you know, not all of us.
Stop judging. Y'all niggas out there judging. Stop judging right away. Stop judging. Stop judging. Stop judging. Stop judging. Y'all niggas judging right away. Just chill.
Us are just out there just, oh, hey, showing the goods, you know, like we do respect our bodies.
What are you doing on web?
So I don't like that you kind of putting us all in one box because of that.
So we have to, in order to have debates, we have to make generalizations. Of course, there can be some exceptions to the rule. But what I'm trying to understand...
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have to make generalizations. Yes, we do.
Is how can you say that you're not, you know, giving up your body if you are a stripper?
Well, because I said I'm celibate. I still want to get married. I still want to have kids. And for some of us, it's hard for us to have kids. And I've also dealt with sexual abuse since a child.
I don't like when niggas like, because it kind of changes it now. Because I don't like when niggas throw in stuff like that without it being like a purposeful point. Like if you wanted to throw in that, oh, you dealt with, you know, SA, you know, whatever, and it actually connected to a point, cool. But I feel like this ain't got nothing to do. Now we're making it personal, and this ain't got shit to do with nobody's personal life.
You know, so I wasn't doing any sexual work as a child, you know, and still went through things like that.
Yep.
So
what is on the OnlyFans then?
So I first want to say, perfectly sympathetic to everything you're saying, especially if you come from an environment where you've lived through something when you're a kid. It makes it infinitely harder, and it's actually a reason why so many people turn to sex work, because they don't have that structure at home that gives them, I think, other options. But would you agree with me that if you could, like, that wouldn't have...
I went to college for music production.
For music production.
I went to
Why this has nothing... maybe it does.
Recording school.
Okay, so did you decide to be a stripper because of economic restraint or because of freedom?
For freedom, you know, we want the choice to do whatever we want with our bodies.
Candace Squint.
For freedom, you know, we want the choice to do whatever we want with our bodies.
Okay.
You know, I don't think it matters if you do want to dress how you want to dress. That doesn't mean, oh, you can, you know, sexually abuse or sexually harass.
Okay, do you think the men that are being brought into the strip clubs to watch you, do you think that they're walking away and going, I did that because that woman was empowered to take off her clothes? Or do you think that they're actually devaluing women?
No, I get it. I used to be that hypocrite, you know. I said things that, I said I would never do anything like that, you know? Like, I totally get that. But some people just want to go to the club and have a good time.
Yeah, I think most of the people who are making those decisions are doing it because they're dealing with addictions themselves. I think you're worth more than taking your clothes off. I think that if you wanted to have a career in music, you wouldn't have to take your clothes off to do that. And I think that it's sad.
You did just say I'm doing it to fun. So you said I'm doing it for free. Because at first, okay, so yeah, there's an inconsistency here. Because at first you said I'm doing it for to fund the music. Now you're saying it. She said, "Are you doing it for economic pressure, or are you doing it for freedom?" Then you said, "I'm doing it for freedom." So there's automatically inconsistency with what you're saying. So you're all over the place.
You've been...
You're about to pay.
Every story is...
And I think the answer to that is no.
Right. I would argue that our biology does not have as much of an effect on the things that we choose to do with our careers, with our life choices, as you think it does. Our closest ancestors are chimps and bonobos. Bonobos are matriarchal, chimps are patriarchal. So, and our previous societies have run egalitarian for millennia. It's not been this inherent desire for men to rule a certain way and women to rule another way. it has been egalitarian, it's been patriarchal because there are things that go into effect, like your situation, your
determined biological characteristics that I think.
All right, let's get these motherfuckers out the paint. What's her claim?
Is wrongly interpreted as
Feminism is wrongly interpreted as anti-men when it benefits both men and women. Okay, let's listen to a little bit.
anti-men when it benefits both.
Oh shit.
Further conversation with, because I thought that it was a respectful dialogue and I want people to be able to learn from the differences. And I think she is probably the best equipped person to get that done.
Respect gets you a long way, man. Respect gets you in a lot of doors, and disrespect close a lot of doors that really should have been open based on your talent and ability. Anyway.
My claim is that I believe feminism is wrongly interpreted as anti-men when it benefits both men and women.
It's a great claim. I like that claim.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think that in today's environment, when you look at the messaging that's coming out from self-proclaimed feminists, it's very much an F men can't do anything, women can do bad all by themselves sort of colloquial messaging.
I guess, yeah, the intention of feminism may be that, but the execution, the intention and the execution are not synonymous. The intention can be completely different from the execution.
Which I think is harmful to men and to women. I have seen examples of people that I truly do think are more old school who don't do that. But I think in 2025 we've landed on the side of this. It is I think rising to a level of just being anti-men, which is not what I think it was supposed to be aspirationally.
Okay. In response to that, I would just like to say I think that in all ideologies and beliefs there is a spectrum, right? And on either side there's going to be a radical point of view.
Fair. Generalize it, close up the position.
Do understand how it may come across as negative when women say things like, I hate all men, or F men this, F men that. But I'm also, as a woman, not going to fault other women for having that perspective and fear, because unfortunately our greatest predator is men. Our greatest harm does come from men. And therefore,
that's do you think, I don't know, do you think women's greatest harm in general, let's not only think about SA and assault, do you think women's greatest harm in general come from men or women? Right? Because yeah, there's a lot of men that SA women, there's a lot of women that SA women, there's a lot of women that help men as a woman, there's a lot of women that help other women as a woman, there's a lot of women that bring people, like, women, man, listen, I don't know if y'all listen to Jeanette McCurdy's story, you know what I'm saying, shout out to Sam and shit like that, I hope she's doing good, you know what I'm saying, they really did iCarly reboot without her, you know what I'm saying, that shit is kind of crazy, but, you know, there was no convincing her to come back anyway. You know, men hurt women, no question about that, that's not even a debate, but women hurt women in a way that men couldn't even imagine to hurt women. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I think there's this idea that women's greatest foe is men, when I think there's a good argument that it's other women. I think we could have that. We could have that debate. We could have that conversation.
or when women have experienced violence from men, when women have experienced oppression from men, I'm not going to fault them for feeling that way and expressing such. And I think the onus does rely more on men for acknowledging that these issues do exist. It is harming women. And unfortunately, a lot of men don't listen to women, and they actually would rather listen to other men. While that may seem like negative messaging, if we can get past the idea of, oh, this feels like it's attacking my character, like I feel like feminism is attacking me as a man, then I think that we can have a much more productive discussion and move forward in making sure that this society is better for everybody. And I do believe that feminism benefits men as well. And I think that's also misunderstood and misinterpreted in that when we hear that, instantly we turn off, we don't want to listen, right? But when we look at historically what feminism does, it's actually trying to bring women at an equal level to men, give them the same opportunities and options as men, and also not receive the same judgment that men do for the same actions. And so I believe
Okay.
That when men
hearing
are
that.
exposed to more female role models, when men are exposed to more feminine or feminist leaning women, they actually have higher quality of life. They have deeper conversations that they can have with their loved ones. All the men that I know in my life are feminists. And it is because they are feminists that we all have a beautiful community and beautiful friendships.
Yeah, so I would actually even
I guess there is a difference between like feminism on the internet and feminism in real life. There's a difference between the dating market in real life, and there's a difference between the dating market on the internet. There is a clear, distinct difference in what you see on the internet as it pertains to dating and in real life. It's just different, and so to think that that can apply as it pertains to feminism, I feel like would be a little naive.
expand it to say that not only is feminism hostile to men, but it's also very hostile to women. And I think you saw a lot of an example of that today, where there seems to be a reaction when a woman says children are beautiful. It's like, oh my God, how dare you say that, like having a child? And it's like, why is there this instant reaction to people that are traditional? And you see that when we have a society which is really kind of being dominated by what I would call like this hyper sexual character, like of the Kim Kardashian prototype of feminism.
Nah, Kim K catching all the heat, bruh. All of the heat. Damn. If Kim K catching all that heat, then Kris Jenner gotta catch some heat too. I ain't gonna lie. You really can't say Kim Kardashian without mentioning her mom. I think her mom named Kris Jenner, right? Kris Jenner I'm saying she was here with it. Me. I'm saying Kim K was just here with it. You know what I'm saying? She was just, Kris Jenner was really cooking up. She was cooking in the back, in the seams. Somebody said, do you want to be Kim Kardashian? She said, I made Kim Kardashian. Nigga, what? Nigga, what?
Weighed against the other extreme, which would be like the Lena Dunham types who are coming out. Lena Dunham's much more the F men forever. Kim Kardashian is kind of the, when I was saying like, come get everything for free, you know, that sort of a model. And I think both of them reject tradition in a way that there's a little bit of hatred there for women who don't want to climb the ladder and work 45 hours a week for a small paycheck, and who act.
And creation itself, as I'm sure you're aware, is also a job, right? So they are not actually fully trad wives. They also are working. And on top of that, they are marketing this lifestyle that is not attainable by.
All right, let's get them about the paint.